Hello, my name is Asa. Nice to meet you and welcome back to my channel if you already know me. Today we are going to paint on eggs. You know why? Because it is Easter soon. Easter will be in a week. So we have enough time to prepare beautifully decorated eggs for the Easter. I am going to use chicken eggs. I didn't boil them, it's just raw chicken eggs. MYIA gouache, you can use any other gouache or maybe acrylic paints. I was thinking about acrylic paints, but gouache is just easier to use for me. And brushes. The most important thing about painting on eggs are small, so you might need very small brushes. I have super tiny one and it was very helpful. Yeah, that's it. This is all I wanted to say. I hope you will grab your own art supplies. Maybe you will grab eggs and let's start painting.
I wanted to quickly show you my new brush I bought specifically for this project. This is the sketch I'm going to use as a reference for my first egg. I'll start with the easiest design. It is simple because it doesn't have any background. I take dark green and paint tiny leaves around my egg. I try to keep some space between those leaves because I'll add flowers to this empty space later. When my leaves are done, I take yellow and paint simple flowers. I try to keep a simple, slightly abstract style since it is easy to paint and it still looks very cute. I give every flower 5 petals because it looks nice and is very simple to paint. Then I take orange and paint the middle part on every yellow flower. You can just put from 1 to 3 dots and it will be enough. Then I will do the same but with pink flowers. My pink flowers will have the same shape as the yellow ones and I will paint them in the empty space of my egg. Yellow and pink is definitely in Easter color palette and I love how springy this design looks. For the middle of the pink flowers I chose red and I repeat the same steps as we did for the yellow flowers, a few dots in the middle and our flowers are done. If you want to try this design, feel free to change colors and give it some of your own touch. I still have a lot of empty space left and I'm going to paint more flowers. It is never too many flowers when it comes to spring. For my next flower I chose orange and the middle I will paint with red. I also added some red to the yellow flowers for contrast. To cover the rest of the empty space of my egg, I will use very light green and add more leaves here and there. When you're done, turn your egg upside down and repeat previous steps. Just make sure the paint is completely dry. This is the final result. As you can see, I also added a few more tiny yellow flowers to reduce white space of the egg. The second design is my personal favorite. It is this bright red egg. We start with painting the background. It is not easy and requires from 2 to 4 layers of paint. Since I used gouache, I had to be careful and let every layer dry fully before applying new layer. Egg cups help a lot with this task. Once you have finished the background, take your small brush and dark blue paint. We are going to paint little branches around our egg. It is hard to paint because the surface is not flat. Take some time to get used to it. Every new branch gets better and better. Then I add more branches but with light blue paint. They are very similar, I just decided to give them more leaves. You can cross dark blue branches with the light blue ones if you're brave enough. Then I use the same dark blue and add flowers to the tips of the dark blue branches. Nothing complicated, just paint a little group of dots. Then I add light blue dots to give my flowers more dimension. I add light blue dots only to the top of my flowers so it looks like they have some pollen on their tips. Then I take a slightly bigger brush and paint white flowers in the empty spaces. I use the same technique as I used for the first egg, 5 petals and a dot in the middle. For the middle I chose yellow so it looks like little daisies. The bigger the brush, the more water it absorbs, and helps me to paint nice and neat dots just by slightly touching the surface of the egg. I wanted to add more colors, so I took yellow paint and decided to add more yellow leaves on my dark blue branches. Once I was done, I turned my egg upside down and repeated the whole process. This is the final result. I love everything about this egg, especially the colors. This is the third design we're going to make. The background is first as always. To make the paint dry faster, I used my hair dryer. A lot of artists use this trick for watercolor and it actually works. The paint dries super fast. As always, I used a few layers of paint. One layer almost never looks nice and bright. When we finish the background, let's paint some nice long plants that grow from the bottom of our egg to the top. I chose nice cold green and I paint those plants all around my egg. They don't have to be identical, some of them might be curvy, some of them might be straight, it is totally up to you. Don't forget to have some space between them. We are going to put some flowers there later. When I'm done painting tall plants, I will use the same colors and place little leaves in the empty space between them. I try to shape little frames with them for my future flowers, so don't paint them everywhere. We also do it around the whole egg. Once we're done, take light green for the nice contrast and add more branches and leaves. Don't paint big plants with this color, just fill empty spaces between dark green branches and leaves. Light colors don't look very bright on the dark background, so once I painted all the light green leaves, I let them dry and painted one more layer on top of them again. Of course, we also do it around the whole egg. It is finally time for our flowers. I paint similar flowers to the ones we did on the red egg. Take some yellow paint and put little groups of dots in empty spaces. You can paint single groups or put 2 or 3 together to make them look like little bouquets. Put yellow flowers everywhere you have enough space for them. Once you are done, take orange paint and let's add more dimension to our yellow flowers. We already did it on the egg number 2, but this time we add orange dots to the bottom of our flowers. I keep using my bigger brush because it allows me to paint nice and thick dots. After that, I take white paint and using the same technique, I paint white flowers. I just change the shape of them. Instead of circular groups, I make them look slightly longer, kind of like lavender flowers. That's basically it. To finish my design, I turned my egg upside down and painted a few layers of dark green leaves on the bottom of the egg to make this whole design look more finished. This is it for this design. Let it dry and your egg is ready. I think this design is one of the easy ones because we used a lot of dots to paint it. Even a child can do that. Green egg is next. Guess what is the first step? Of course, it is the background. Take your biggest brush and apply a few layers of paint to make your egg look nice and bright. Then we place our egg white side up and we will paint nice and bright flowers on the bottom of the egg. It is super easy to paint if you have a square brush. This flower will have 4 layers, so we will go from the darkest to the lightest one. Every new layer should be smaller than the previous one. For this flower, I chose dark pink, red, orange and yellow colors. I wasn't very happy with the size of the dark pink layer, so I took some time to make it bigger. I wanted this flower to be more visible, so it was worth it. I added more brush strokes with a square brush around my old flower, and now it looks nicer and bigger. Once it is done, I paint a final yellow layer in the middle of my big flower. I'm happy with how it looks, so I take my tiny brush and add little yellow dots between petals just for funsies. Then I switch to the red paint, and using the same brush I paint little stamens around my flower. This is it for the bottom. We are now going to work on the sides of our egg. I took red paint and I'm adding little roses. Then I do the same with the yellow paint. I don't go for a realistic look and I do super simple roses. About 10 brush strokes is probably enough for every rose. Then I take darker colors and paint shadows on my roses. You can just repeat the shape of the petals and place some shadows here and there. Not too much, 4 or 5 brush strokes is enough. Then I take the square brush and paint regular daisy-shaped flower somewhere not far away from our roses. I use the same style as I did for the big flower on the bottom of our egg. I go from light pink to dark pink using the same brush, and I will paint little yellow dots in the middle later. The layer of paint is so thick it needs some time to dry. Meanwhile, we can paint other elements of our design. I take blue paint and add little plants that remind me of fern leaves a little bit. Place them between the roses and daisy and add some to the sides of your flowers. It is time to take yellow paint and finish our pink flower and add little yellow dots to our ferns. The final element of our design is green leaves. I like to paint them close to the big flowers so they look like they're a part of them. Place your leaves everywhere you see some empty space, and once you're done, one side of the egg will be completed. We are going to repeat the same process on the other side of our egg. I will paint the same flowers but change the composition a little bit. I would recommend to stay with the same color palette. We don't want our egg to look too crazy. When you're done with the second side of the egg, your design is complete. Congratulations! This is what our finished egg looks like, and we are now ready to move to our final egg design. The final egg is the pink one. Same as always, 3 layers of pink paint. Let it dry completely, and we are now ready to paint some cute little plants on our egg. Similar design to the previous ones, we paint nice and tall plants around our egg with the dark green paint. They don't have to look the same, some might be shorter or longer. Some of them might grow to the side, but don't paint them upside down. Make sure they all look like they grow from the bottom of the egg, if you know what I mean. Don't paint them too close to each other. We want this empty space for our flowers. All the flowers for this design we already practiced on the previous eggs, so there won't be anything new. As you can see, I painted a little purple rose and couple of lavender flowers using the dot technique. Next, I will add a red rose and 2 yellow roses everywhere I have enough space for them. After I'm done with roses, I take white paint and place dotted flowers in the empty space of my egg. I don't paint anything on the bottom of this egg because I want this design to be light and tender. We're almost done. I paint little hearts on the tips of my plants, and the final egg is completed.
We did it, guys! This is our beautiful eggs. Which one is your favorite? Mine, I think, is the red one. I hope you enjoyed watching my videos. I hope I gave you some nice ideas on how to paint eggs and you got some Easter spirit. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support, likes and comments. I really appreciate it. And as always, I wish you to stay positive, stay creative, and I will see you in my next videos. Bye!